Hello and welcome to ModB.com's Stanislaus Football Weekly, an inside look at all things football in the Modesto area. And now for your hosts, Joe Cortez and Brian VanderBeek.
Hi everybody and welcome to Stanislaus Football Weekly for the third week of October. We're seated, we have a table, and I can almost see Joe over there. I'm Brian VanderBeek, this is Ron Agostini, Joe Cortez down at the end. And we're going to start right off with our 5 remaining unbeatens. And 4 of them have pretty solid tests this week. I want to throw out some numbers, though, first. We have 1,076 high school football teams in California right now. 73 of them are undefeated. 11 of those 73 are in the Sac Joaquin section. 5 of them are in the Stanislaus district. But of the 6 7-0 teams in state, there's only 2 7-0 teams in the section, and we got them both. And they're playing against each other Friday night.
That's right. And you'll be there.
Really looking forward to that Hillmar Ripon game.
These are teams that won at week 0, right?
Teams that won at week 0 and still have buys coming up, but that's one of our. So we know right off that we're not going to have any more than 4 remaining unbeatens, but we could have less than that. Hillmar and Ripon battle each other in Hillmar. Patterson visits Los Banos in a game that's going to be anything but a walk for Patterson. Amador, if they're going to be tested in the Mother Lode League, it's going to be in this game. They're hosting Calaveras. And our 5th team, LeGrand, should not have much trouble with Turlock Christian. But it's going to be a good week, some good tests finally for some of our unbeatens.
That should be an interesting game in Los Banos, Brian. I saw Los Banos last week against Central Catholic for a team that gained less than 100 yards. They were pretty competitive against Central Catholic. They were physically tough. They gave up a pick 6 on the second play from scrimmage. That was a bit of a mistake by Los Banos. The quarterback was supposed to take a 2-step drop for a quick hitch, and instead he took a 4-step drop. That gave time for the Central Catholic safety, Jared Rice, to cheat a little bit. Turned it into a pick 6, and that put Los Banos behind immediately, and they lost the game 20-0. But Los Banos was okay that night. They're a very young team, especially on offense. This is going to be an interesting game against Patterson in league play.
It should be. And you called him a cheater in your story, too.
I did. I'm sorry.
You put it right.
Jared's okay. You're not a cheater per se. We just had a little fun. You made a great play in the game, Jared. It's okay.
Los Banos has had a wonderful season thus far for a team that was supposed to be kind of in a rebuild mode. They've only been handled one time this year.
Yes.
Manteca High.
Now, Dustin Carapareso has done a nice job after a good season last year.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, like we said before, some teams are going into their 6th game, 7th game, 8th game this week. Most teams in their 7th game. So it's time to look back and kind of what we've learned thus far as we continue to learn every week about these teams. And looking at the large schools, especially based on what happened last week in the CCC, it's become very obvious we have no dominant teams at those upper levels, divisions 1, 2, or 3.
Or we've got a lot of good teams.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're right. The CCC has just been a real mystery. We thought Pittman was going to waltz through the CCC after what they did the first 4 weeks of the season, and lo and behold, Buhack Colony of Atwater comes through last week and just
shuts them out.
Yeah, just a dominating performance.
Yeah, everybody in the MMC and CCC have at least 2 losses. Now that's interesting. Patterson, as we mentioned before, is our lone unbeaten large school, and that's only because their enrollment would make them a Division III school.
Sure.
But you look at it, does Patterson crack the top 2 or 3 teams in either the CCC or VOL?
Oh, that's a good question. According to Max Preps, their top 25 section rankings, Central Catholic, and these are put together by our colleague Joe Davidson at the Sacramento Bee.
Yeah.
Central Catholic is number 10.
Right.
Followed by Manteca
At 13.
Ripon at 24, and Merced at 25.
Yeah, I saw those, and as much as I'd love to think that Ripon could hang with Merced,
well,
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I don't think Ripon would believe that.
But it's just interesting.
Yeah, it is.
To look at the varying opinions at the quality of strength within this within our largest school division.
Right. Another thing is that the people doing those rankings, as you mentioned, Joe's terrific at what he does, but those guys very rarely get south of Stockton.
Well, sure.
So just to see the teams down here, and it is kind of nice to see Ripon at top 25 in the section. But we'll see. I mean, they've got their hands full, obviously, this week.
Yeah.
Another thing, what does this mean for postseason for these large school teams? You're already looking at a league champion who's going to have 2, maybe 3 losses. The conference winners do get the benefit of the doubt when it comes to seeding. But if you're that number 2 team, you could be looking to be on the road almost automatically in divisions 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah. I mean, that's almost assuredly going to be the case in the MMC.
Yeah.
We've got a big game Friday night in the MMC between Modesto High and Enoch, 2 teams that were nowhere 3 weeks ago. I mean, they weren't even in the conversation.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Enoch has overcome an 0-5 start. They're 2-5, 2-1 in the league. And Modesto is now 1-1, and they're slowly putting it together. Tiki Tonga seems to be grasping Rich Alkire's offense and kind of finding his way. And all of a sudden, these 2 teams that were nowhere, we're looking at a big battle Friday night.
Now, Enoch was hit pretty hard by injuries, right?
Absolutely. Most notably, their quarterback, Sean Munoz.
Right.
And in fact, I tweeted out a picture in their loss against Bayer. 4 guys on the sidelines on crutches.
Wow.
And then there was a 5th who was walking around with a limp. So, yeah, they've been hit by the injury bug big time. But they're getting healthy, and they're starting to believe.
That's the main thing right there, especially after the schedule they faced early.
They did. They faced a real tough. They lost to the top 4 CCC teams.
Yeah. Another thing we've learned so far is that the system teams. We think of Oakdale and that system, and the system certainly in place at Escalon.
Right.
Those systems will make a team competitive year in, year out, decade in, decade out. But in order for those teams to really climb to the next level,
break out of the pack.
Absolutely, they still need game breakers. And that's the one thing, having seen Escalon this year and having seen Oakdale, quality players, good kids, but not that game breaker, the kid that can take a 4-yard trap play and beat the safety and run 70 yards. Neither team has that this year. Escalon obviously has solid backs like Frankie Bavaro, very solid. Oakdale has the junior Brock Whiting, who had a very nice game late against Manteca, but overall, neither team really passes the ball, has the ability to pass the ball right now, and having said that, both teams are probably still going to make the playoffs in what are really going to be down years for those programs.
Right. You have to give it up to these programs at Escalon and Oakdale. It's hard to sustain any success in football, especially for public schools.
Sure.
These 2 schools have done that, which made it even more surprising this year. Neither of these schools has been beaten as convincingly in league play as Escalon and Oakdale have this year, which was very noteworthy. Escalon losing to Ripon, and Oakdale getting beat convincingly by Manteca. I can't remember the last time Oakdale trailed in a VOL game 28-0.
Yeah, probably the last time was that 8 years ago when Manteca won the section, and Manteca handled them pretty good in that game. Was that 04?
05, maybe 05, yes.
Yeah. I was kidding with Trent Merzon about this and about the system and how these kids actually start learning these offenses in the womb. I was accusing them of going around to the natal hospitals and drawing diagrams on the bellies of pregnant mothers and shining a light so that the kid can start absorbing all these trap blocks in the womb. But, I thought that was pretty funny.
The wing T by osmosis.
That's right, and not too much of an exaggeration. But another thing we just want to discuss very briefly, and you see it on Saturdays and you see it on Sundays, is that college football and the NFL have both instituted and made a priority of these helmet rules. Now, we saw Isaiah Burse being taken out of that Hawaii game with just an incredibly bogus call, incidental helmet contact, but he was suspended for the rest of that game. The league eventually came back and said, well, that was a mistake.
They pulled it back.
Right, and we've seen players in the NFL get fined $10,000 to $12,000 to $20,000 for helmet hits, but if it's a priority at the NFL level, at the college level, shouldn't we be seeing some of that trickle down to the high school level? I've seen nothing.
Neither have I. I have not seen a targeting play. I haven't even seen a helmet-to-helmet personal foul in a high school game.
I've seen a couple of personal fouls this season for roughing the quarterback, but I don't believe they were helmet-to-helmet infractions.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. We should be seeing a trickle down. Absolutely.
I wonder about it because maybe the kids are being. I remember all the way back 35 years ago when I was playing, the first thing you were taught in tackling practice was head up. See the target that you're going to hit. Lead with see the target, hit with your shoulder. I mean, the kids are being taught that, and the kids are being taught a lot more of, wrap and roll and stuff like that than form tackling. But there are always the kamikaze kids coming up from the safeties, coming up from the defensive backfield and leading. And I'm seeing it. I'm just not seeing it called.
Well, we've seen it in the NFL. Guys trying to lead with their shoulder,
right,
who make an incidental helmet-to-helmet contact, and they're flagged.
Yeah.
And you would think that would be the case in high school too, where someone who's trying to do it properly but just makes some incidental contact. I saw a play in the Turlock-Modesto game. Caleb Sexton, you remember Modesto trailed early and they made a mad comeback. In the last minute of the game, Sexton took the biggest hit I think I've ever seen in a high school football game. Later I asked him, did that hurt? And he said, yeah, his head was ringing. And I thought to myself, he was probably concussed.
Yeah.
But he popped right up and got on the line for the next play. And of course, nothing was ever said. But it just shows you how tenuous it is and how hard it is to enforce and how hard it is to to watch out for it as a coach or a training staff.
Yeah.
It's very difficult.
Yeah, well, maybe we can give credit at this point to the coaches at every level, from Pop Warner all the way up through varsity, for really teaching the very strong techniques to. It's not a safe game, but they're making it a safe.
It's not, and at the NFL level, they've got neurologists on every sideline.
Right.
You're not going to see neurologists on high school football staffs. I mean, it's important that the techniques are taught and utilized at that level.
Yeah.
Very important.
Ron, you had a chance to see Central Catholic play the other night, and we understand that maybe for a second straight year there's going to be some mid-season help.
Maybe some help. That's interesting. We've seen it again now for the second straight year. Late in the Los Banos game last week, Central Catholic won 20-0. Roger Canepa inserted a sophomore quarterback by the name of Hunter Petlansky. Hunter's a Modesto kid. He spent his freshman year at St. Mary's and transferred back to Central Catholic. He had to sit the first until last week, and he was eligible for the first time. And sure enough, late in the game, a Friday night, it was no big deal to the outcome of the game, but Hunter did take some snaps at quarterback. I think he ran for a first down. I'm not sure how big a role he's going to play at quarterback for Central. Donovan Townsend is pretty well entrenched, but I have a hunch he's up at the varsity level as a sophomore for a reason. And I think he's going to play a role in the Central Catholic offense here down this stretch. This will be the second straight year Central Catholic has received some mid-season personnel help. As we saw last year, Ray Vega wasn't too bad.
Not too
contributor
bad.
to that team. I'm not saying that Hunter's going to be the next
Right.
Ray Vega,
Right.
but I think he's going to have an impact on their season here the second half.
But he's a sophomore.
He is a sophomore.
6'3",
Tall kid.
about 220.
Yeah, 6'3", pretty big
Built
kid.
like a brick outhouse.
He's a pretty rangy kid from what I saw.
And real athletic.
But
He
yes.
works out at the at Les Bonsu's Elite Athletic
Is that right?
Academy, and just a wonderful athlete.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's going to be a part of that team.
I'm curious as to the rule, though. If he's a sophomore, why did he have to sit? Because there's that free transfer rule after your freshman year where you can go anywhere without penalty. I'm not sure what was going on there, but...
I understand he was not eligible until last week.
Okay.
That's the way it was explained to me.
Okay.
So.
Well, let's pick some games. Let's start
do
off
it.
with our 2 7-0 teams going down to the Cheese City to play. Ripon at Hillmar, and you guys know I'm going to pick Ripon because I always pick Ripon.
You always do.
That's an inside deal there, Brian. We know that. It's going to be a great game. Hillmar has been working to this week all season, and they have a chance to win at home. Big opportunity for them. Big chance for Ripon. How long is their winning streak now?
21 straight regular season wins.
That is a great run by Ripon, and this is going to be a close game. I'm going to give the edge to Hillmar because they're at home. I can't remember the last time Ripon won at Hillmar. Do you? You have to go back.
Might have to go back.
Might have to go back.
There was years where they were obviously Hillmar came back into the WAC, from the WAC to the TVL for the 2010 season. So there were a lot of years that they didn't play there. But yeah, you might have to go back. might have to go back. Who do you like in that?
Now, I was slated to staff this game, but Beek gave me the puppy dog eyes,
It's true.
and I relinquished.
It's true.
And I'll be at Modesto Enoch
Yeah.
this week.
And
But I'm going to go with Hilmar.
Yeah.
A couple of coaches in the district that I've talked to said Hilmar's defense is fast. And not that Rippon's isn't, but
Right.
I like Hilmar here.
Okay. Well, Ron, the game you're going to be at, Sierra at Oakdale. I don't know. I haven't seen Sierra, but they're putting up points. They appear to have a pretty decent defense. I saw Oakdale handled the other day by Manteca. So the question is probably not who's going to win this game, but how much better is Manteca than Sierra? I don't know. I just, from what I saw of Oakdale last week, I got to go with Sierra.
Yeah, we're going to find out Friday night. I've not seen Oakdale.
Yeah.
I have seen Sierra, and they're good. And I think the big point about this game is how will Oakdale react to a convincing loss in a big game to Manteca last week. I think Sierra may win a close game, but I would expect a big emotional effort from Oakdale too. So we'll see.
That's kind of what I'm banking on. Last week's loss was just the third at the Corral, the third league loss at the Corral under Trent Merzon
Yeah.
in 13 and a half years.
That's amazing.
You telling me a team's going to come in there 2 weeks in a row and hang a league loss on Oakdale? I just don't like those.
Don't like those numbers?
Yeah.
I don't like those numbers. I'm going to go with Oakdale.
They served 1,200 tri-tip sandwiches.
Yes.
the other night.
I got-
How many did you have?
I actually ate before I went.
I got
But,
I got two foodies on either side of me here.
That's right. And the Hilmar, I understand the Hilmar concession stand is very much upgraded this year. Talked to Frank Marcus about that, actually brought it up, and he laughed, and I laughed and said, well, you know, when the best thing for years at Hilmar was the frozen burrito that you could get. It was just not a good snack bar. And I said, but they had a couple people step up from the community to just take on the challenge of upgrading the Hilmar concession stand. And yeah, pulled pork apparently. And,
Boy, that's-
and at Hilmar, you know, you better have some linguiça out there.
My goodness,
I
that
might
sounds good.
I might rethink our Friday night assignments.
Just for food, just on the basis of food. On the basis of food. Modesto versus Enoch at Johansson High. And Joe, you're going there.
I am.
Yeah.
And like I said, these two teams 3 weeks ago were just out of the picture. And, you know, it wasn't clear earlier this week if Tiki Tonga, Modesto High quarterback, was going to play. He was out of state dealing with an ailing grandfather. And I got a text from Rich Alkire just a few minutes ago, said that Tiki was, he flew in this morning and attended practice this afternoon, and he's good to go Friday. So that makes all the difference for Modesto High.
I think it really depends on Enoch's. You know, coaches always say, you know, from day to day, from game to game, you're never going in a straight line. You're always going up or you're going down. And Enoch's may be trending up right now. How much? I don't know. But we'll find out Friday night in a key MMC game with Modesto. I kind of like Enoch's in this game.
I kind of like Enoch's too, and you know, and Tiki is the wild card. He's as dynamic as any quarterback we have in the area, and certainly can make plays where other quarterbacks can't. But if he's been out of state for a couple days, hasn't practiced until today, and we've got to say this: we're taping this on a Wednesday afternoon, so he's gonna actually see the game plan for the first time this afternoon.
Wednesday afternoon.
So he'll get one hard practice, one walkthrough practice, and Enoch's is on the uptick, and I got to go with the Eagles on this.
You know, they are on the uptick. They're getting Munoz back, and James Stacy's done a wonderful job kind of, you know, steadying the ship there and maintaining the course. But I think Modesto has just too many athletes. You know, the Collins twins and of course Tiki.
Be a fun game. I hope you kick off before 8:20 or something.
Well,
like
it's
that.
homecoming. It's
Oh.
Enoch's homecoming, so hopefully we'll get it in the paper.
That's right. That's right. We're going to go with the CCC for our last two picks, and all of a sudden a huge game. Merced at Buhack.
Huge win by Buhack last week.
Yeah.
I've not seen either of these teams. It'd be a coin toss for me. All I can tell you, this game will go far to decide the league champion in the CCC. Kevin Swartwood does a great job
Yes.
at Buhack
Yeah,
year
no
after
question,
year,
no question.
and he's a Grace Davis guy, as we know. And Buhack came through big time last week. Do they have another big game back to back in them? We'll find out. I think Merced, though, is going to win this game.
Yeah. Well, I'll go with Joe's alma mater too. Rob does a great job there, and of course he's a Dos Palos guy. So
That's
I
right.
don't know what that means, but I
was
do know
born
that,
in Dos Palos.
Well, I do know that I covered him in high school because that's how old I am. I'll go with Merced in this one.
Last week I picked my alma mater over Turlock, where I live. I live about 6 blocks from the campus there, and I think my son will probably end up going there someday. And my daughters went to Buhack Colony. Well, I picked against my son's future alma mater. I'll have to pick against my girl's alma mater. I'm going with the Bears.
I got a lot of.
I'm not surprised, Joe.
I got a lot of grief at the corral the other night for picking East Union.
That was a mistake.
Well, you wouldn't do it.
I know, but someone had to. You guys were nice. Picking EU this year is pretty tough.
Atwater at Pittman. Bounce back game for Pittman. I got to think the Pride bounces back and scores some points this week.
Atwater's one of those sneaky good teams this year, aren't
Absolutely.
they? Yeah.
Absolutely.
I have a hard time figuring this game out. I've seen neither team. It depends on Atwater. How good are they? We don't know. We're going to find out. And how will Pittman bounce back? I think Pittman will bounce back. I like Pittman.
Yeah, Atwater is 4-2, and they've just been flying under the radar. We've talked about Pittman and Merced and Buhack, a 3-time champion, and we really haven't mentioned Atwater at all. They've just been laying in the weeds. Having said that, I got to go with Pittman. I saw Pittman, and they're very athletic. I don't know what happened last week. I wasn't there, but I'm going to go with the bounce back.
Okay, we're time for extra points here, and Joe, want to lead us off with the extra points?
Well, what am I going to lead off with? Of course,
Yes.
Jaquan Gardner.
That's right.
And Andrew Brown. Andrew Brown has beaten Jaquan Gardner to the 1,000-yard plateau this year. He has 1184. Gardner had a bye last week. He's stuck on 977. He's 617 yards away from the record. Mm-hmm. Brown is still 829. He got a big boost last week with 281 yards against Turlock Christian.
Yeah. You know that Andrew's third in the state right now with 155 points through 6 games. Now we're projecting that Ripon Christian could play as many as 13 games because they won't be getting a first-round bye if they're not the Southern League champion. No player in the history of the Stanislaus district has scored 300 points in a season.
Well, there you go.
He could.
You
be
just
the
jinxed
first.
him.
That's right. The section record actually, Ontario Smith from Grant scored like 330 in his senior year.
Yes.
But
I saw him play.
Yeah, but interesting. Just another aside there. Eric Reese last week and Rick Davis from Argonaut both got their 100th career victories. Congratulations to them.
Yes.
Now, this goes back to the Hilmar Ripon game. Frank Marcus has 98 wins, career wins, going into this week's home game against Ripon, and so he'll get it this year. Mm-hmm. Whether he gets to 99 this week but they still have Escalon and Houston to play after Ripon had its gauntlet early. Mm-hmm. Hilmar gets it late.
Hilmar gets it late.
I know we're going to mention the same thing at the same time. We asked a question last week if there was a name for the Los Banos Pacheco game.
And it is?
It's the Crosstown Clash.
The Crosstown Clash, thanks to David Whitty of the Los Banos Enterprise and Coach Seemiller of the Los Banos staff for providing us with that important information. Uh-oh, Ron. Now you've done it.
Now I've
Breaking
done
news.
It.
Breaking
no.
news.
This is
No, it's not.
Breaking news.
Sorry about that, guys.
So your extra point?
My extra points, Modesto Junior College. They open Valley Conference play Saturday at Visalia against COS. It's COS's homecoming. COS is unbeaten, 5-0, coached by an ex-NFL tackle, Irv Pankey, having a great season. Yeah. And MJC had a bye last week. They've had a couple weeks to think about a 3-game losing streak. They come into the game 2-3 overall, looking to turn things around Saturday.
So is that at Mineral King or Sunkist, or what are they calling that stadium?
Not sure what they call it. We remember it as Mineral King Bowl. Yes.
Mineral King Bowl. Well, that's it for Stanislaus Football Weekly for the third week of October. For Joe Cortez and Ron Agostini.
I'll answer my phone now, too.
I'm Brian VanderBeek. Go out and see some high school football this weekend.